Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are diving deep into some seriously fascinating stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Artificial general intelligence,
AGI.
AGI, and you have provided some really interesting research,
Wide.
articles, expert opinions, even some tests for AGI.
It's going to be fun.
But we are not just going to, define it. We're really going to explore what AGI means and why it matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what's so cool about the material you've given me is it goes way beyond the basics.
Right.
We're not just talking about the tech here.
Yeah.
We're talking about potential impacts on society, on the future of work, even the very definition of intelligence itself.
Okay, so let's start with that definition.
Okay.
We hear AI all the time, but AGI, that seems different.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here?
You're right. It's a crucial distinction.
Okay.
The AI we use daily, right? That's narrow AI.
Right.
Think about your smart speaker or, those algorithms suggesting what to watch next.
Right.
Amazing at their very specific job, but limited in scope. AGI wants to create systems that match, maybe even surpass human abilities across the board.
So not just being a chess grandmaster or writing poetry,
Right.
but that flexible intelligence that we have as humans, learning anything, being able to switch between tasks,
Yeah.
understanding, abstract concepts.
Yep.
AGI wants machines to do all that.
Precise. Think about it. You can learn a new skill
Right.
and then apply that knowledge in a completely different context.
Yeah.
That adaptability
Yeah.
is what makes human intelligence so powerful.
Mm.
And it's what AGI is aiming for.
Ambitious. And speaking of ambitious, our sources are just buzzing with debate about when this is going to happen, the timeline for AGI.
Yeah.
Some are saying it's just around the corner, others centuries away. Some
Right.
even say it will never happen.
Right.
So where do you land on this?
Honestly, predicting the arrival of true AGI.
Yeah.
It's like trying to guess when lightning will strike.
Okay.
We know the ingredients,
Yeah.
but the exact moment
Right.
is elusive.
It is elusive.
But what's interesting to me is the sheer amount of research pouring in.
Oh, really?
72 active AGI projects across 37 countries as of 2023.
Wow.
Clearly, lots of brilliant minds are taking this very seriously.
72 projects. That's amazing.
It is.
Okay. But why are some experts worried that it might happen sooner than we think?
Yeah.
We've got some big names in the mix here. Jeffrey Hinton, for example.
Ah, yes. Hinton's concerns are especially noteworthy because this isn't just some, tech pundit.
Right.
This is a pioneer of deep learning.
Yeah.
The very technology driving a lot of the recent AI boom.
Right.
He's drawing parallels between current progress and the Cambrian explosion, that period of rapid biological evolution.
Right.
So if he thinks we're on the verge of an AI explosion, well,
Yeah.
that's a wake-up call.
It is a wake-up call. But, okay, so we've got this potentially world-changing tech, maybe sooner than we're comfortable with.
Right.
But how do we even know when we've reached AGI?
Hmm.
How do we measure it? Isn't intelligence kind of subjective?
Ah, that's where it gets fun.
Okay.
Because measuring intelligence, whether in humans or machines,
Yeah.
is a challenge in itself.
Okay.
You found some really creative tests proposed for AGI,
Yes.
going beyond the classic Turing test.
The Turing test, iconic.
Yes.
But we've got some newer ones like the robot college student test.
Oh, yeah.
Could an AI earn a college degree?
Uh-huh.
And with LLMs already passing exams, it's not as sci-fi as it sounds.
It's getting closer.
Yeah, it is. And then there's the coffee test.
Oh, the coffee test, yeah.
It seems so simple.
Yeah.
Can an AI walk into your kitchen and make coffee from scratch?
Right.
But no AI has managed it yet.
No, they haven't.
It requires understanding the real-world problem-solving on the fly. And those are things that AI right now kind of struggles with.
They do.
And then my favorite, the modern Turing test. Give an AI $100,000, can it turn it into $1 million?
Ooh, I like that one.
Talk about real-world skills.
Yeah, right. What's so fascinating about these tests is that they're aiming to assess general problem solving, not just mimicking humans.
Right.
Can an AI truly understand and navigate the real world?
Not just a controlled environment.
Exactly.
So not just talking like a human, but thinking like one.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. But
Yeah.
while we're working on all these tests, aren't we surrounded by some pretty impressive AI already?
We are.
What about those large language models, the ones that are writing essays and even code? Are those a step towards AGI?
The LLM question.
The LLM question.
Even defining AGI is tricky, right?
Right.
So figuring out if LLMs like GPT-4 qualify
Yeah.
is even harder.
Yeah.
Some researchers see glimmers of general intelligence in them.
Uh-huh.
Others say that they're still essentially very advanced, narrow AI, just really good at mimicking human output.
So they're blurring the lines.
They are.
It's hard to pin down what we're aiming for?
Exactly. And that's why some researchers are suggesting we classify AGI in levels
Okay.
from emerging to superhuman.
I like that.
It helps us track progress and have a more nuanced understanding of where AI stands on the path to true AGI.
Okay, so we've got these levels of AGI, but hasn't there been ups and downs in AI research before?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it feels like we've been hearing about thinking machines for decades.
We have.
Our sources mentioned something called an AI winter.
Uh-huh.
What happened there?
Well, AI's history is a roller coaster.
Okay.
Huge hype in the 50s and 60s predictions of human-level AI just around the corner.
Sound familiar.
Yeah, a little too familiar maybe.
Right.
But those early efforts hit a wall.
Okay.
The computing power was nowhere near enough. And the approaches themselves often relying on symbolic reasoning,
Okay.
where you had to painstakingly program every bit of knowledge,
Yeah.
just couldn't handle the complexity of the real world.
So it was just too much.
It was too much.
Too much for the technology at the time.
Way too much. And by the 70s,
Yeah.
funding dried up, progress stalled, hence the AI winter.
So the hype faded, and people realized true AI was much harder than they thought.
Much harder.
But then AI came back.
It did.
So what changed?
Well, you're right. AI had a revival in the 80s,
Uh-huh.
and it's been climbing ever since.
Mhm.
Several factors contributed, but one was the rise of machine learning,
Okay.
which flipped the script.
Oh, so?
Instead of programming every rule,
Yeah.
you give the AI data and let it learn patterns,
Interesting.
more like how humans do it.
So instead of trying to teach the AI everything, we started teaching it how to learn.
Exactly. And this, combined with the exponential growth in computing power,
Yeah.
really paved the way for the progress we see today.
Hmm.
But AI's history holds a valuable lesson.
What's that?
This field is prone to cycles of optimism and disappointment.
Okay.
So are we headed for another AI winter?
That's a good question.
It's a question worth asking.
Yeah. So are we repeating past mistakes, or is this time different?
Right. Have we learned enough to keep the momentum going? It's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's impossible to predict the future, for sure.
Of course.
But the landscape is different this time.
Okay.
The advancements in deep learning, the sheer amount of data we have now,
Yeah.
the investment pouring in,
Right.
it suggests that we're on a path of sustained progress, but vigilance is key.
Okay.
We can't let hype overshadow the real challenges and potential pitfalls.
Good point. Especially considering some of the other paths to AGI being explored.
Oh.
Our sources mentioned whole brain emulation.
Yes.
That sounds intense.
It does sound intense. Whole brain emulation is a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
Though controversial,
Yeah.
instead of programming intelligence,
Right.
could we scan a human brain
Mm-hmm.
and copy it? Download someone's mind, essentially.
Wait, seriously, that sounds like pure science fiction.
It does, right?
Right.
But futurists, like Ray Kurzweil,
Okay.
believe that the tech could be ready surprisingly soon.
Okay.
He predicts that by the mid-2020s, we'll have the computing power to simulate the human brain at a very detailed level.
The mid-2020s, that's practically next week. But even if we could map the entire brain,
Yeah.
wouldn't copying consciousness be a whole other hurdle?
You've hit on a key criticism.
Okay.
Even with a perfect replica of the brain's structure,
Yeah.
would that transfer consciousness, subjective experience?
Right.
It might be like having the hard drive data, but no operating system.
Okay.
You've got the information,
Yeah.
but can it actually experience anything?
That's a great analogy. It raises the question of whether consciousness is purely physical or something more. It's a deep philosophical debate that AI is really pushing us to confront.
Absolutely. A debate that's only going to get more intense as we move closer to AGI.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think this is a good place to pause because obviously that takes us from the realm of science fiction right into the heart of what it means to be human.
It does.
We're getting deep.
We're getting deep.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But before we, get lost in the existential pondering, let's bring it back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
What does all this AGI talk mean for you, the listener, right now?
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the big picture.
It is.
But this stuff has real-world implications.
For sure.
And let's be honest, the first thing that pops into most people's minds is,
Yeah.
will robots take my job?
Right.
Is that a legitimate fear, or is that just, Hollywood hype?
It's a valid concern, but it's not a simple yes or no answer.
Right.
AGI won't replace all jobs overnight.
Okay.
It's more like a rising tide, slowly engulfing different sectors at different speeds. And yes, some jobs are definitely more vulnerable than others.
Our sources pointed to office workers being particularly at risk.
Uh-huh.
So does everyone with a desk job need to start panicking?
Panic. More
Ah.
proactive.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Think about it. The jobs most easily automated
Yeah.
are those with repetitive tasks, data processing, predictable decision-making. Anything that could be broken down into a set of rules, AI can probably do it faster and more accurately.
So data entry, telemarketing, even some accounting and financial analysis roles.
Those are prime examples, but it's not just blue-collar versus white-collar.
Okay.
Even highly skilled professions like law and medicine are seeing AI tools kind of creep in.
Wait, AI doctors and lawyers, is that even allowed?
It's more about AI assisting, not replacing completely.
Okay.
Imagine an AI analyzing medical images, spotting things a human doctor might miss, or sifting through legal precedents to find the perfect case to support your argument. This frees up the human experts
Right.
to focus on the things that AI can't do.
Right.
Empathy, complex judgment calls that human touch.
So it's not humans versus machines, it's humans and machines working together.
That's the idea.
But isn't that partnership a little bit lopsided?
How so?
Well, machines are getting smarter faster. So how do we ensure that humans aren't just sidelined in this collaboration?
That's a good point.
What kind of power dynamic are we setting up here?
You raise an important point. I think the key is to view this as an opportunity to redefine the relationship between humans and technology.
Okay.
It's about leveraging the strengths of both.
Right.
AI excels at processing information, identifying patterns, automating routine tasks.
Right.
Humans bring creativity, empathy, critical thinking, complex problem solving to the table.
Right.
The ideal scenario is one where AI augments human capabilities, not replaces them.
So a dynamic duo situation, not a robot takeover.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. But that still requires us humans to adapt.
It does.
So what skills should people be focusing on to stay relevant in the age of AGI?
I think the skills that will be most in demand are uniquely human.
Okay.
Creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, and the ability to collaborate effectively. These are the things that will set humans apart.
Those are some pretty high-level skills.
They are.
How can people even start developing them now? Are we all going back to school?
It doesn't necessarily require a formal degree.
Okay.
I think lifelong learning is key. Embrace opportunities to learn new things, whether it's through online courses, workshops, or simply by reading and exploring different fields. Stay curious, adaptable, and challenge yourself to learn and grow constantly.
So be a lifelong learner. Always expand your knowledge base and your skill set.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about those interpersonal skills, the soft skills we often hear about?
Yeah.
Are those still important in a world where AI is taking over, more of the technical tasks?
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of soft skills.
Okay.
In fact, as AI takes over more routine tasks, the ability to communicate effectively, work collaboratively, and build strong relationships will become even more crucial.
So that human touch really comes in.
It does.
Those interpersonal skills that AI, at least for now, can't replicate.
Exactly. These skills will be the key differentiators in a workplace that's increasingly influenced by AI.
Oh, okay.
But let's step back for a moment.
Okay.
Because the impact of AGI extends far beyond, our individual jobs.
Right.
We're talking about a technology that could reshape entire industries, economies, even our social structures.
So we need to think bigger than just our own careers.
We do.
What are some of those broader societal implications of AGI that we should be considering?
Well, one major implication is the potential for increased inequality.
Okay.
If the benefits of AGI, particularly in terms of wealth creation, are not distributed fairly, we could see a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots.
So it's not just about robots taking jobs. It's about ensuring that everyone benefits from this technology, not just a select few.
Right.
How do we even begin to address that?
That's where things get tricky. There's no easy fix.
Right.
But it requires us to rethink our current economic models and explore new approaches. Some experts are advocating for policies like universal basic income, providing everyone with a financial safety net.
Okay.
Others believe we need a more fundamental shift, redefining the role of work in society altogether.
Hold on. Are we talking Star Trek here? Leisure for all?
Maybe.
Sounds great in theory.
But
But wouldn't that fundamentally change what it means to be human?
It might.
What happens to our sense of purpose, our drive to achieve?
So it's a profound question, and one that anthropologists and sociologists are really grappling with.
I bet.
Does work define us? Or is it a construct that we can evolve beyond? If AGI can automate a significant portion of labor,
Yeah.
it could free up humans to pursue other endeavors, creativity, personal growth, community involvement, or simply more leisure time.
Right.
It's a possibility, and it forces us to confront what truly gives our lives meaning.
So it's not necessarily about eliminating work entirely, but redefining its role in our lives.
Right.
And that's a massive societal shift.
It is, but before we get carried away with these utopian visions,
Right.
we need to acknowledge the potential pitfalls.
Of course.
We've talked about job displacement and inequality,
Uh-huh.
but there are other risks to consider.
Right.
One that often gets overshadowed is the potential for AGI to be used for malicious purposes.
Okay, back to the dark side. We touched on the existential risks earlier, but are there more immediate concerns that we should be thinking about?
Well, imagine a superintelligent AI in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
It could be used to develop autonomous weapons, manipulate financial markets, spread misinformation and propaganda on a scale we've never seen before. The possibilities are as vast as they are unsettling.
It's a chilling thought. It sounds like we need to be thinking about safeguards and regulations now before this technology gets too powerful to control.
Absolutely. The development of AGI raises profound ethical and philosophical questions that we can't afford to ignore. We need clear guidelines for how this technology is developed, deployed, and controlled. And these guidelines need to be informed by diverse perspectives, technologists, ethicists, philosophers, social scientists, and most importantly, the public at large.
So it's about having a broader conversation about the future we want to create with AGI, not just letting the tech companies call all the shots.
Right.
But how do we even ensure those voices are heard?
Well, it starts with awareness.
Okay.
Stay informed. Engage in these discussions. Demand transparency and accountability from those developing this technology. The future of AGI is not predetermined. It's something we as a society have the power to shape.
That's a powerful message. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the pace of technological change.
It is.
But ultimately, we still have agency.
We do.
We can choose the future we want, but it requires us to be engaged, informed, and proactive.
Exactly. And it requires us to confront the big questions.
Yeah.
We've talked about the economic and societal implications, the potential risks. But there's one question that always seems to loom large.
What's that?
Consciousness. If we create machines that can think like us, will they also feel like us?
Yes, the million-dollar question. Will they have emotions, desires, even a sense of self? Is it even possible to create conscious machines?
Those are some of the most profound and perplexing questions surrounding AGI.
Yeah.
And honestly, we don't have definitive answers yet.
Right.
Philosophers and scientists have been debating the nature of consciousness for centuries.
For centuries, yeah.
And it's a conversation that AI is forcing us to re-examine.
So we're venturing into uncharted territory here.
We are.
We're creating something we don't fully understand.
Right.
And it has the potential to change everything.
Yeah.
It's a bit daunting, isn't it?
It is daunting, but it's also incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
We're on the cusp of a technological revolution that has the potential to reshape humanity's future. And the choices we make today will determine whether that future is a utopia or a dystopia.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, the potential benefits and risks of AGI, the impact on jobs, the need for ethical guidelines. But it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
We have.
There's so much more to explore.
There is.
So what's the next step for our listeners? Where can they go to learn more, get involved, have their voices heard?
Well, there are so many resources available, both online and in your local library.
Right.
Look for articles, books, documentaries about AGI. Attend lectures, find conferences. There are online communities and forums where these issues are being discussed constantly.
Right.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions. Challenge assumptions. Share your own perspectives.
Because ultimately, the future of AGI is up to all of us.
The future isn't something that happens to us.
Right.
It's something we create together.
Well said.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to shift gears just slightly. We've talked about the what and the why of AGI, but what about the who? Who are the major players driving this field forward, and what are their visions for the future?
Yeah, you gave me some great sources that highlight some of these key players.
Yeah.
You're right. The development of AGI isn't happening in a vacuum.
Right.
It's being driven by individuals, organizations, even entire nations, each with their own motivations and goals. Understanding those different perspectives is crucial.
We've got organizations like OpenAI making headlines with its GPT models. And DeepMind, a Google subsidiary,
Right.
known for its work in areas like game-playing AI and protein folding. It feels like every week there's a new breakthrough announced.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
These are powerhouses pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Yeah.
But it's important to note they have different approaches, different philosophies.
Okay.
OpenAI, for instance, has been very vocal about the potential risks of AGI.
Okay.
They've actually called for mitigating the risk of extinction from AI to be a global priority.
Okay.
Right? Alongside threats like pandemics and nuclear war.
That's a pretty stark statement.
It is.
It seems like they're saying AGI could be as big a threat to humanity as a global pandemic or a nuclear war.
Yeah.
Are they being overly dramatic, or are the risks really that serious?
Well, I think it's a reflection of a growing awareness within the AI community that AGI isn't just a technological challenge.
Right.
It has profound implications for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
And we need to be having these difficult conversations.
Yeah. But it's not like everyone is sounding the alarm bells.
Right.
Some experts are much more optimistic about the potential of AGI and think the risks are being exaggerated.
That's true. There's a spectrum of opinions, just like with any transformative technology.
Right.
Some researchers believe AGI is still a long way off. Others think we're seeing early signs of it already.
Yeah.
And there's disagreement about the level of risk, the best approaches to development, the ethical considerations. It's an ongoing debate.
It is.
And it's important to hear all sides.
So we've got this tension between the optimists and the cautious.
We do.
And it's all playing out in real time as this technology keeps advancing.
Exactly. And it's a debate that needs to happen out in the open.
Right.
Not just behind closed doors in research labs. We need to be discussing these issues as a society, weighing the potential benefits and risks, and making informed decisions about how we want to navigate this uncharted territory.
This is what fascinates me most about this topic. It's not just about the technology itself,
Right.
but about the human element. How do our own biases, our fears, our hopes for the future shape the way we approach AGI?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Our perceptions of AI are often shaped by science fiction, by those dystopian narratives of robots taking over the world.
Yeah.
It's easy to let those stories color our thinking.
It's hard not to. We've all seen those movies.
We have.
But we need to be careful not to let Hollywood fiction dictate our understanding of real-world AI.
Exactly. We need to separate the hype from the reality and approach this topic with a critical but open mind.
Yeah.
Acknowledge our own biases, challenge our assumptions, and most importantly, seek out diverse perspectives.
Right.
The future of AGI is too important to be left to any one group or ideology.
Because in the end, the truth is, we don't know for certain what the future holds.
We don't.
AGI could be incredibly beneficial, or it could lead us down a dangerous path. It all depends on the choices we make today.
And those choices need to be made collectively,
Yeah.
not just by a handful of tech companies or governments, but by all of us. We need a global conversation about the ethics, the governance, the societal implications of AGI.
That's a tall order, but it's also incredibly empowering.
It is.
It means that we as individuals and as a society have a role to play in shaping the future of AGI.
We do, and that role starts with staying informed, engaging in these discussions, and demanding that our voices be heard.
So knowing what we know now, what role do you, the listener, want to play in the age of AGI? What questions do you have? Where will you seek answers? This deep dive has given us a starting point.
It has.
But the exploration doesn't end here.
Yeah.
It's up to each of us to keep learning, reflecting, and engaging with this technology that has the potential to change everything.
Because ultimately, the future of AGI is not predetermined.
Right.
It's something we're creating together right now.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into AGI. Until next time, keep exploring.